Hello everyone. Hope you are doing well. This is Satanick, and with this video, I am planning to start off a new series on long problems. So, the compositions or problems that we'll be discussing here will have solutions with 10 or more moves. These are the kind of problems that don't really sit well with a lot of chess players as well as solvers because they're long. It is usually assumed that they are extremely difficult or perhaps even unsolvable. But that is not always the case, and that's the point we would like to make in this series. Long problems can often be extremely fun, and in most cases, you can learn a lot of deep strategic ideas from them, which you'd usually not find in a mate in 3 or a mate in 4 in a short length problem. So, the number of moves actually allows for more elaborate ideas, more detailed strategy and plans. And in a way, they are also very instructive. With that note, let us begin our journey. By the way, I am calling this new series Demystifying Long Problems. I hope I will be able to do justice to that name. But okay, anyhow, let's start off with this new video and this new series. Our first composer of interest is Josif Kricheli. So I will bring up this flashcard on the screen. Here are some biographical details about our composer today, Josif Kricheli. He was a grandmaster. He was born in Shinkvali, South Ossetia in 1931, and he died in Sukhumi, Georgia in 1988. And his specialties were helpmates and more movers. Now, helpmates will not be covering in this video, in this series, because this series is about orthodox problems, more movers, direct mates, and sometimes we will also look at studies. But Kricheli was also a great expert of helpmates, especially the ones that are long and use strategic ideas. About his style, I would say his problems are not that difficult, not exceedingly difficult, but of course they are not very easy either. But they have a beguiling quality. So if you solve them, chances are that you will fall in love with them. You can just approach them with a leisurely spirit, and you can derive a lot of pleasure from them. They make for extremely pleasant solving, and yeah, that is pretty much the kind of problems that he composed. Very ingenious, very tricky, but at the same time, uh, very clear and simple. So simplicity is also an aspect of beauty. Okay, apart from more movers and helpers, he also composed studies. I believe 50 or 55 of them, and his total output would be around 1500 or around about 1500 problems. So a very prolific composer and also a very versatile one because he used to dabble in fairy chess sometimes and also other kinds of problems like self-mades, etc. So yeah, that is pretty much all about Rick Kelly. He was awarded the International Master of Composing title in 1971 and the Grandmaster title in 1984. He died 4 years later at the age of 57 in 1988. So that's it. Now let's move on to our problem. Yeah. So this is white to play and made in 13, 1 3 13. Let's put up the credentials, which is very important, and we'll always try to show the full credentials of the problems that we present in this series. Josef Mikhailovich Kricheli is a composer. It is white to play and made in 13. This was first published in 1977 and it also won a first prize. So, an excellent problem, and I hope a very good one, perfect one to start off this new series. Okay, so here I would urge you to pause the video and give this problem a good think because even though it's 13 moves, which might sound like a lot, but it's not that difficult. There are no sidelines, there are no side variations to distract you from the main idea. All you have to do is figure out the right strategy, and you should be able to uh, figure out find out the 13 moves, the straight linear 13. It's a linear variation. There are no sidelines, so it should not be too difficult. Okay, okay, I hope you gave it a good think. Now, how do you approach this problem? When I saw this position, the first thought was to bring this bishop on this diagonal, c1 h6 diagonal, because to play something like bishop f2 or bishop e1, threatening mate on this diagonal. That was my first idea. And also I looked at, I noticed that white can also potentially play the move bishop f5, threatening rook h7. But right now it doesn't really work because black has rook h8 guarding the h7 square. So those are the main ideas. But how to start? Okay, let's look at the move bishop to f2. This is a logical try. White is aiming White is aiming to play bishop e3 and check with the black king. But the problem is now black can play the move rook to a3, and suddenly this rook on a5 that was on a5 has become very active, and it's also guarding this threat on e3. So that's the reason why bishop f2 is not such a good idea. This third rank is a good uh, way of defending the position for black because the third rank is open. Okay, now let's look at the move bishop to e1. The threat is obviously bishop d2. But once again here black has rook d8 guarding the d2 square and also activating this rook. So that's the issue. You can't play bishop f2, you can't play bishop e1 because the rooks become very active. This leaves us with only one possibility. So the first move is bishop to g3, threatening bishop f4 mate. And now the only way black can prevent bishop f4 is by playing king g5. And now what does white do? This is important. Now white carries out this very interesting, tricky little maneuver. First, rook g7 check. The black king has to come back, king h6. Now rook to d7. Important to note that the rook doesn't go back to e7 square. It goes back to the it goes to the d7 square. The idea is to block this d file. But how is this going to help us? So right now it's black to play and white is threatening bishop f4 mate. So black will play king to g5. That's the only move. And now, my first question to you: what should white play here? The rook is on d7 instead of e7. The d file is blocked. How can white make use of it? Okay, I hope you were able to crack this. So here, white plays this very interesting, tricky move: bishop h4 check. And guess what? You cannot take the bishop on h4 because then white has rook g7 and there is no way to prevent g3 checkmate anymore. Note that the g5 square is guarded by the rook. So this would be a mate in 6 and the game will be over a lot more quickly. So black can't take the bishop on h4. King f4 is also not possible because then white has rook e7 guarding this e5 and e3 squares. Once again g3 would be unstoppable here and the game would finish far more quickly than expected. So after bishop h4 check, black actually has to drop back to h6 once again. And now, what does white do? Well, white makes use of the fact that the d file is blocked now. So white goes bishop e1, and you can see that there is no rook d8 anymore. And to stop bishop d2 checkmate, and bishop d2 is threatened. So what does black play here? Black has only one way to prevent bishop d2, and that is to push the c pawn, c4, c3. But now you have to observe that we were discussing in the beginning that this third rank, open third rank, was an important feature in black's defense. But now, once we have induced this move c4, c3, once black has pushed his pawn, there is no rook a3 anymore. The rook can't come to a3 anymore and guard this e3 square. And this means that potentially white can play bishop f2 with devastating consequences, with the threat of bishop e3 mate. So that's how we are slowly but surely messing up black's position. So c3, it's the only defense here, stopping bishop d2, but it also incurs a serious disadvantage. It blocks the third rank. Okay, so now question for you. What does black play? Should black play bishop f2 right away? Well, that would not be a good idea, because if bishop f2 now, then black has rook e8 guarding the e3 square. We should not forget that our rook is on d7 right now, not on e7. So we have to carry out again the little maneuver that we did in the beginning. Instead of bishop f2, we go bishop g3, threatening bishop f4 checkmate. King g5 is forced. Now we play rook g7 check, king h6. We play rook e7, not d7, blocking the e file because we want to play bishop f2 after this. And now king g5, bishop h4 check. Again, that same trick. The bishop cannot be taken. King f4 is met with g3 checkmate. So the king falls back. King h6. Now white plays bishop to f2, and now we can see that the third rank is blocked. There is no rook a3, and there is no rook e8 either. So bishop e3 is basically coming, and there is no way to stop bishop e3. If black plays f5 here, then bishop e3 check, f4, bishop into f4 is actually mate in 12. So the best that black can do here is play rook to g8. But this is mate with bishop e3 check, rook g5, and now white has bishop f5, and there is no way to prevent rook h7 anymore. So we spoke of the move bishop f5 in the very beginning, and it turns out that that is the move the solution ends with. Since the rook is pinned on g5, there is no way to protect the h7 square anymore, and in the next move, no matter what black plays, rook h7 follows. And that's the end of the solution. That's made in 13. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this solution, and do let me know in the comment section how you feel about my explanations and whether you were enjoying this kind of videos. Uh, yeah, with that, let me say goodbye today. We'll see you in the next video very soon. Till then, take care.